welcome back to Crafts by KMW. Thank you so much for clicking on this video to watch it, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making it and coloring the book. So this is a full flip through of my third completed coloring book, Querkles Icons. I am so excited to have 2 coloring books finished for the year. I didn't even think I would do one. And even though these are very short books, they only have 20 pages, it's still an accomplishment. The images are kind of big, and you know, our lives are busy, and most of us do more than just coloring, and I do a lot of other crafts. So I have a lot of things pulling on my time. So when I finish a book, I am really excited, whether it had 1 page or 50 pages. So the other Querkles book that I finished is Cats, and that video is already on the channel if you would like to check it out. And the other one that I have is Masterpieces, which I am working on and hoping to finish within the next 2 weeks or so. There's a 4th Querkles book called Animals, which I don't really care for. I just don't like some of the animals that are in there. And I think some of the images are really small in relation to the size of the book, of the paper. So I took a look at it a couple weeks ago, and I still really didn't have the desire to buy it. But I do love these 3 that I have, and I'm probably gonna buy another copy of this one because I am wanting to color some of the images in different colorways and see how they look. So when I colored Cats, I made some errors in color choices. Like, for example, one page I did with all purples. So I had 5 different shades of purple, and one of the shades just didn't fit with the others. It just was off tonally. And that also happened with another page that I did, I think in blues and greens, and one of the colors was just off. So this time I really put effort into choosing my colors and making sure I swatch and tested first and put all the colors together to see how they would look next to one another. And I also vowed to do more variations. In other words, to have more color palettes that had at least 3 colors in them. And I would say most of these have 4 or 5 colors. And I don't own any resources for color palettes. Like, I don't own Sarah Renee Clark's books or her color cubes or anything like that. I don't use color palettes enough to warrant spending money on getting something like that. And here's Finn. So usually I just look online and I Google, but for the number of different color palettes I needed, I just didn't feel like doing that. I knew it would take a while. And so what I did was I went into Amazon because I knew from looking at the listings for the Querkles books that many people have uploaded their pages in there. And I thought, I bet I can get a lot of different color palettes from there. And I did. I think there's like 7 or 8 listings on Amazon for the various Querkles books. And I got, I think, all but 2 of the color palettes that I wanted to use for this book and Masterpieces. And then I just went on Google and I looked at one website, found 2 others, and I was done. And I'm really happy with the color palettes I chose. I love pretty much every page in here, and that wasn't the case with Cats. So I'm really glad that I took what I learned and used it to help me get some pages and a completed book that I am really happy with. Now, of course, there's some pages that I like better than others, and some of the color palettes that I like better than others, but overall, I like them all. So before I show you the pages, just a few things. So 2 of the pages are missing. I am missing Elizabeth Taylor. I don't know what happened to her. This book was published in 2015, and I think I bought it in 2016. So when I first started coloring it, I would color a page and then rip it out, laminate it, and display it on the wall. And so I have a bunch of them that are single like that. And Elizabeth Taylor was one of them. So I don't know if I just lost track of her or if maybe she got damaged somehow and I threw her out, but I don't have her. And I also don't have Princess Diana. Princess Diana was the first one that I colored, and I messed it up. So instead of having 1 be the darkest color and 5 the lightest, I did the reverse. And like her skin is really, really dark and it just doesn't look good. So what I'm trying to do is take white Posca pen and cover up all those pieces that I want to recolor. And I'm gonna see if it works. I do not know. I'm gonna try it. If it works, I'll probably put it on video. If it doesn't, you'll probably never hear about it again. And I do plan on getting another copy of this book, so I'll have a clean picture of hers that I'll be able to scan into my computer and then be able to print out as many times as I want. But for now, for now, I am trying to fix it. And then I used either colored pencils or markers on all of the images. And then for the backgrounds, I used chalk pastels, gel crayon, markers, and ink. And the ones that I colored years ago that I tore out, none of those backgrounds are colored. And I don't know why I didn't do that. I don't think I even thought about it. Again, I was just getting into coloring and just starting to collect books and get going on it. So I just don't even think I thought about coloring them. And those are all laminated, so I cannot color the backgrounds now, unfortunately. And then the ones that are still in the book, I used letter stickers to denote who the person is. I knew all of them except for one. And I would love to know in the comments when I show you that one if you knew who that person was, because I had no idea. I had to look him up. I had never heard of him before. So I think the letter stickers just gives it a little pizzazz. I did that in one of my mythographic books as well. Each page had a name, so I put the name on the bottom in letter stickers, and I just think it adds a little something something to the book. And I did look up some information about each person, some cool facts. Some of them I found some neat quotes that they said, so I'm going to share that with you too. So hopefully this will be a little bit of an informational session for you too. So I am going to start with the separate pages. All right, so the first one is Janis Joplin. So Janis Joplin was born in 1943 and passed away in 1970. She is one of the members of the 27 Club. And if you've never heard of that before, that is a term that is used to describe the huge, huge list of famous people, actors, musicians, who died at 27. And there's just an inordinate number of them. And there's a lot of people who have like conspiracy theories around that. And but I just see it as a bunch of people passed away at the same age. But she is a member of that club. She was a singer-songwriter, like blues and rock. She was a very like ethereal, bohemian type of person. She had these long, flowy locks. I loved her hair. And she always wore these big glasses. She was very bubbly. I don't think she was ever married. Two of her really famous songs are Me and Bobby McGee and Another Piece of My Heart. I really like that song. And she did pass away of a heroin overdose. So this is done all in Prismacolors. I wanted to do reds. I don't love all the shades. I don't know what happened with this one. It's almost like a puce color. I don't really know what happened with that one, but I like the overall effect. So I am generally happy with it. So the next one is Marilyn Monroe. So Marilyn Monroe was born in 1926 and passed away in 1962. She was an actress and model. One of her most famous movies was Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. She had 3 husbands, and one of them was Joe DiMaggio, who was a very famous baseball player. She was married to him for 1 year, and it might have even been less than a year. And interesting fact, for 20 years or more after her passing, and I'm not sure if it was until he passed away or until he just got too sick to do it, he sent flowers to her grave. And I'm not sure if it was like on the anniversary of her death or on the anniversary of their marriage. I don't know, but for many, many years, he sent flowers to her grave. All right, I've had enough of that, so he needs to go, which I thought was really, really touching. And one thing that I found out that was interesting about her that I didn't know was that she had trouble memorizing her lines. So they would often have to cut her lines down, make changes to her lines, have other people say lines that her character was supposed to because she just had a lot of difficulty remembering them. And I'm not sure if that is due to having maybe a learning difficulty. I'm not sure, but yeah, I thought that was interesting. So she's done in all pinks, and these are Prismacolors, and I really love this palette. I think it looks lovely. I'm gonna try to do these same colors or similar colors on Princess Diana if I get to the point where I can recolor her. So next is Amy Winehouse, and she passed away in 2008. She was 27 as well, and I really didn't know anything about her when I colored this. The only thing I knew was that she had a song called Rehab, and I hated the song. I thought it was an absolutely wrong message to send out to people who are in crisis and who have a very serious addiction. I do understand why she did. That was from her own personal experience, and that's how she wrote her songs, but I just never liked that song for that reason. But she was an amazing person. I got to see some documentaries on her over the last few years, and she had a fantastic voice. She was a fashion icon. She wore one of those like 60s beehives, and she had the thick black makeup, and she wore kind of vintage clothes. I loved how she wrote too. All her songs were from her own personal experience. She told stories. That's how Billy Joel is, and that's one of the reasons that I love Billy Joel as well. So I didn't want to do her in pinks because I did Marilyn Monroe, and I will do Princess Diana over again in pinks. So I chose some more vibrant colors, but I did incorporate a little pink, but I wanted to do mostly purple, and I think it looks really good. I like how it turned out. I have seen some versions of this where they used black for the hair and for the eyes, and it does look really cool that way. So if I get this book again, I will probably use black for the darkest color. So the next one is Jim Morrison. And he was born in 1943 and passed away in 1971. He also is a member of the 27 Club. He passed away of congestive heart failure at 27. He was the lead singer and main songwriter of The Doors. They were a popular band in the early 60s. They were very like psychedelic and witchy. They had a lot of like synthesizers and organ music in their songs. He was known as the Lizard King. And from what I saw of him, he was very like sexual and provocative and seemed very confident. He would do like all these kind of serpentine moves. I think that's partially where he got like the Lizard King name. But I did find out that he was actually a very shy and withdrawn person, kind of like Michael Hutchence of INXS. He didn't really want the fame per se, and he kind of was very reserved. So I thought that was really interesting. And one thing I found out that is super cool, and I wish I could find out more about this, is Harrison Ford, before he was an actor, like way before, because he didn't become an actor till he was in his 30s. He was actually a stagehand and a cameraman for The Doors. I wish I could have found out more information on that. I really couldn't, and I only had so much time to research it. But I would love to see what Harrison Ford thought of that time of working for and with The Doors. It must have been really cool. I wonder if he has some inside information on Mr. Morrison here. So I wanted to do him kind of like psychedelic, so I chose sort of bright neon colors. I love this neon green. It looks really, really cool. I really like how they look all together. I did see a lot of examples of this one colored with different palettes, and they look really cool. So I'm really looking forward to coloring him again in a different colorway and seeing how that looks. And then we have Audrey Hepburn. So Audrey Hepburn was a British actress. She was born in 1929 and passed away in 1993. She was also a fashion icon. There's a photo of her that was taken, and she was all in this all black outfit, and oh, she just looked so cool. That photo is like iconic. She had 2 kids and 2 husbands, and something I didn't know about her was she spoke 5 languages, which I think is really cool. 2 of her really famous movies were Breakfast at Tiffany's, which I've never seen, but I know things about, and Wait Until Dark. I think Wait Until Dark was one of her later movies, if not her last one. If you get a chance to see that, check that movie out. It's a mystery. Stacy Keach, who was a very famous actor, and there's many other really famous actors in that movie. She plays a blind young wife, and her husband gets into some trouble that involves her, and she turns out to be so smart and courageous, and it's really uplifting, even though it's kind of scary and freaky. It's definitely a movie you should check out. I highly recommend it. So this I did grays, and looking at this, I think it's the cool grays from Prismacolor, but I'm not sure. I'm not really good at telling that. But I don't know, for some reason, I think I was just thinking back to that photo where she was dressed in all black and how awesome she looked. I just thought she needed to be in blacks and grays. So that's what I did. And I do think it looks really cool. Again, I have seen different palettes used with this, like brighter colors, pinks and purples, and they look really great too. All right, so now we're gonna get into the rest of the pages that are still attached to the book. All right, so this first one is Che Guevara. In the comments, please let me know if you know who this guy was or you knew who this guy was before I told you, because I had never heard of him before. And I'm actually surprised that he's in this book. So he was born in 1928 and passed away in 1967. His birthday was actually the same as mine, June 14th. There's a lot of people who were born on June 14th. I actually share a birthday with Boy George and also with Donald Trump. He was a Marxist revolutionary. He was the leader of Cuba for some time. Many people saw him as a very violent dictator. And online, which I thought was really cool, not cool in a good way, but really scary actually, it's listed under one of the facts about him that he is credited with 500 deaths. I don't know. I cannot understand why he is included in a book called Icons and why anyone would promote him as someone to be looked up to. Everything I saw about him was not really positive. I mean, yeah, he rose to the position of leader of a country, but I don't know. I'm just really surprised. I wish I could talk to Thomas Pivett and find out why he put this guy in this book, because I really couldn't find out too much redeeming about him that would make him a positive icon. But I did find a quote that he said. He said, "We cannot be sure of having something to live for unless we are willing to die for it." And there's been many people that have said something similar over the years. And I thought that kind of put a little bit of a positive light on him, although you could see it in terms of like dictatorship and Marxism and all of that. But I wanted to do something a little positive maybe. So this one I did do with Prismacolors. These are the Prismacolor Cool Grays. And I just felt like, being the person that he was, he needed to be in dark colors. And then I used 3 red chalk pastels for the background. This one, just so you know, I colored this whole thing dark without even looking to see if there were maybe any other spaces that needed to be colored a different color. And then on like the answer key in the back, I saw that he had a dove on here, so I just drew that in with Posca pen. So next is Martin Luther King, who absolutely belongs in this book. I wanted to do him in more realistic colors. I just have so much reverence for him and respect for him and thankfulness for him for everything he did to help us get to the point where we are today. Although not perfect, I think we are a better culture and a better country for him having been in it and for doing what he did. So I wanted to do him in realistic colors, so I chose browns, and these are all Brut Fooners. I did a lot of testing, a lot of coloring them right next to one another so I could make sure that they would all flow well, and I think they look really great. I think it makes a really nice cohesive picture. And I used 2 shades of blue for the background, chalk pastel. The darker shade is in the center and the lighter shade is on the top and the bottom. I wanted it to be kind of uplifting, and I feel like blue is a color of positivity and hope. So I really enjoyed coloring this page and how it came out. So next we have Nelson Mandela, and very famous person, again, totally worthy of being in a book called Icons. He was born in 1918 and passed away in 2013. He was the president of South Africa for many, many years. He was an anti-apartheid activist. He had 3 wives, which I didn't know, 4 kids, and 17 grandkids, which I think is really cool. And he won the Nobel Peace Prize. So these are Brut Fooners. I chose browns and blues. And I'm not sure, I like the color palette. I'm just not sure I like, now that it's finished, the order that I did the colors in. So The darkest brown was 1. The darkest blue is 2. And then the next brown is 3. And then another blue is 4. And then the lightest blue is 5. I'm not sure if I would use this palette again the same way. I think I would do all 3 browns together and then the 2 blues together. But I do like it. I still think it looks really good. And then when thinking about the background, I just thought of the color wheel, and I know that orange is on the opposite side of the color wheel, so I decided to do the background orange. I used 2 different tones of chalk pastel, the darker tone closer to the image, and then the lighter tone around the edges. So next is Jimi Hendrix. So he was born in 1942 and died in 1970. He is regarded still as one of the great guitarists of all time. Like, he is, and his career wasn't even that long, but he was just so talented. He died at 27 as well, so he is also a member of the 27 Club. And Purple Haze was one of his really popular songs. I am not a fan of his music. I just thought it was, I don't know, it's just not what I like. But I do highly respect him and his talent. He was very talented. One cool thing I found out was that shortly before he died, he said to, I think it might have been his publicist or someone, maybe his manager, I'm not sure who it was, that he needed help. And shortly before he actually passed, he wrote a poem, I think, about that. I had a hard time finding the poem, and again, I just couldn't do more digging to try to find that, but I think it's kind of sad that, you know, right before he died, he kind of realized that he wanted to make some changes and he wanted to live, and, you know, his body just had other ideas, unfortunately. But I thought that was kind of interesting to learn about him. So I wanted to do these in kind of psychedelic colors and make kind of a psychedelic look. And then these are all Brutfuners. And then, no, I'm sorry. This is not Brutfuners. I'm getting used to saying Brutfuners. These are Crayola Super Tip markers. Sorry about that. I'm trying to use those up so I can buy a set of Ahoo-Hoos. So, and then I use chalk pastel in this really bright limey green for the background, again, to add to the psychedelic look. So next is Frida Kahlo. So she is one of my favorite artists. I love her. So she was born in 1907 and passed away in 1954. She was a Mexican painter. She was known most for her self-portraits, and I have joined a Facebook group that is dedicated to her artwork. So people will post pieces of her art occasionally, as well as artwork they do that is inspired by her, or they do portraits of her. And some of the self-portraits that she did are really beautiful and uplifting and lovely. And then there's others that are kind of dark. Like I saw one where like her whole torso is cut open and there's things like coming out of it. Very odd, but I still love her. And she was married to Diego Rivera, who's also a very famous painter. And what I didn't know was that she divorced him in 1938 and then married him again in 1939 and was married to him through her passing. She was known for her style too, like Audrey Hepburn. So she was known for her Tawana clothing, her really bold, big, colorful jewelry, and always having flowers in her hair. So when I colored this, I looked up online to see what colors she liked to use. So it said blues and greens and reds and oranges and yellows. So that's what I picked for my color palette. And then I always knew that I was going to do flowers in the background. So I have some really cool flower stamps. So I just stamped them in black ink. And then I colored the background in just a random red Brutfuner pencil that I had close to me. And then I colored in the flowers with chalk pastels. And I really like how it looks. I wasn't sure what to do with the flowers, if I should color them the same colors I used in the picture, or should I use different ones? And I ultimately decided to do mostly different. So I did pinks and purples on the flowers, although I did incorporate some blue and yellow to tie it in a little bit. But I really like how this one turned out. I think it's my favorite in the book so far. So next is the poster. So I'm gonna pause, and I recorded that separately because I have to open it up and record it, hold my camera to record it. So I will be right back. So the poster is Elvis, and Elvis was born in 1935 and passed away in 1977. He was known as the King, and I think still is known as the King. A couple of his really famous and most well-known songs are Can't Help Falling in Love with You and Jailhouse Rock. I love both of those songs. He was in the Hall of Fame, or is in the Hall of Fame. He sold over 1 billion records, and over 150 of his albums and songs achieved gold, platinum, or multi-platinum status. So he was a very talented person and well revered in American culture. So the picture is colored with Brutfuners, and I chose grays and purples, and I really like how it came out. I kind of toyed with doing blues because he did the song Blue Suede Shoes, but I don't know, I thought that was kind of too obvious. So I decided to go with the purples and the grays, and I really like this color palette. It's subtle but really cool. And then for the background, I used blue chalk pastel, and then I made dots for kind of a bokeh looking background with white and yellow chalk pastel pencil. The white kind of faded away. I don't know what happened, but you can see the yellow really clearly, more than I wanted, but I kind of like it. It's okay. I already sprayed fixative on it, so I can't really dilute the yellow too much, but I do like it. I wanted to do kind of a bokeh background because he was very glitzy and showy, and I just wanted to pay homage to that. Just a funny story, my mom told me that when she was a young girl, Elvis was just starting out and they would have him on TV, and my grandfather didn't want her to watch him because he was very sexual and provocative. He would, you know, thrust his pelvis and do all these kind of sexual moves that were very, you know, taboo in like the mid-50s. So she always thought that was really funny about Elvis and how her father wouldn't let her watch. So just wanted to throw that in there. So I'm going to get back to the rest of the book now. All right, so next is Beethoven. So he was born in 1770 and passed away in 1827 at the age of 56, which for that time period was really old. He was considered an old man. He was a composer and pianist. He was almost deaf for most of his life, and towards the end of his life, he became pretty much totally deaf. And interestingly, he only composed one opera in his life called Fidelis, which I think is kind of cool. So this one, when I got the colors down, I really like this color palette. It's really bold, it's kind of pop arty, and I didn't know what to do with the background afterwards. So I asked my sister, she took one look at it and was like, green. And I was like, green? She's like, green. I'm like, okay. So I chose a darker green. I added a little bit of lighter green just for a little bit of interest and highlights, and I love it. Again, I think it continues the pop art look of the whole picture, and I really like how it turned out overall. I like this color palette. I would definitely use it again, maybe with some different shades of the same colors. So next is Winston Churchill. So he was born in 1874 and passed away in 1965. He had a nice long life. He was twice the Prime Minister of the UK. So he was Prime Minister from 1940 to 45, and then again in 51 to 55. He had 5 children and only 1 wife. So he stayed married to his wife for many, many years, and that's kind of rare today and even back then. He was a conservative, which I did not know. I don't think the parties are as, I guess, as big or as bold and like all encompassing in life in England as they are here. So I really didn't know anything about what kind of what party affiliation he had. So I was kind of surprised to hear that he was a conservative. And one of the most important things he did was leading the UK to victory in World War II. So these are Brutfuner pencils. I really like this color palette. I think some different shades might be better. I'm not sure the green I absolutely love, but I do like it. But I think if I were to do this color palette again, I would choose a softer green or maybe like a sage green. I think that would look a little better. And then the background is gray chalk pastel. I wanted to give it sort of a stripy look, so I did darker here, here, and here, and then lighter shades in between. So next is Groucho Marx, and I love, love, love this one. I love the color palette. I will definitely use this color palette again. I wrote down the color names so I can use the same colors, and I think variations of those same colors would look really cool too. So Groucho was born in 1890, passed away in 1977. He was a comedian and actor mostly. He had 3 wives and 3 children. And I found a quote that I really liked that he said. He said, "I, not events, have the power to make me happy or unhappy today. I can choose what it will be. Yesterday is dead, tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. I have just one day, today, and I'm going to be happy in it." I love that. I mean, what a great sentiment for today, and something that I think a lot of people need to try to aspire to, because I think we just focus too much on the bad things in our lives, and I really like that uplifting message. And I do know one other fact about him, which I think is kind of cool, and I actually saw this on a special called Heavy that VH1 did, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, on the birth and life and death and rebirth of heavy metal music. I am not a heavy metal fan, but I love documentaries, and that is a really good one. If you can find it somewhere and you get to watch it, watch it. It's really informative. They do a lot of interviews with a lot of the big bands and big names in heavy metal, and they interviewed Alice Cooper, of course, because he was one of the early kind of heavy metal artists, and he told a story of how Mae West and Groucho Marx came to one of his shows, and back then he was really creepy. He wore like gross black heavy makeup and did all this really disturbing stuff on stage, and like chopping heads, and you know, he just wanted to be very vulgar, and his persona of Alice Cooper, in his own words, was like evil. So he was really shocked that Groucho Marx and Mae West. And if you don't know who Mae West was, she was a very glamorous actress at that time period. That they liked the show. And he even said that Groucho Marx told him it reminded him of vaudeville. And so I just think that's a cool cool story. I think Groucho Marx was really a cool person. So this is all Brutfuners, and then I used Spectrum Noir red sparkle pen on the background. It does look a little splotchy, but I actually like that. And I don't know if you can see the glitter, but the sparkle pen does add a little bit of glitter to it. It's very subtle, but very pretty. I think there might be a bunch. Yeah, there's a little collection of the glitter right there. So I just thought, as a comedian and a funny man, that having red in the background would really complement his image. So I love this page. I think this is my favorite in the book. So next we have Muhammad Ali. So he was born in 1942 and passed away in 2016. He was a boxer and an activist. He was known as the greatest. He had 9 children, one of whom is Layla Ali, and she was a boxer as well. I don't know if she is. I think she's a little older now, but she was a boxer in her career. He had 61 fights overall, 56 wins, and 37 by knockout. So very, very talented. I am not interested in boxing at all, but you gotta acknowledge the talent of this guy. So these are Brutfuner pencils. I really, really love this color palette. I just think it looks really cool. I think maybe next time I might use a darker peach for the lightest color, but otherwise I really like it. And then I used Posca pen on the background and gel pen for the stars. I just thought he needed some sparkle. And then we have Abe Lincoln. So Abe Lincoln was born in 1809, passed away in 1865. He was assassinated, and he was the 16th president of the United States. Very well known as one of our greatest presidents. I think he's in the top 5. He was part of the National Union Party. I thought he was known as a Republican, but I don't think so. I'm not sure if they used the word Republican back then, but I think that's where the Republican Party started from. And then he freed the slaves, and he is one of the presidents who is on Mount Rushmore, deservedly so. If you ever get to see Mount Rushmore in person, it's awe-inspiring. I have seen it once. It's amazing. So these are Brutfuner pencils. I really love this color palette with the purples and the pinks. I think it really came together. And then for the background, I divided the page in half diagonally. I used pink on top and orange on the bottom, taking colors from the image. And I used Crayola Super Tips for that. I used darker colors towards the tips and then brought it into lighter colors and did the same with the orange. It's not perfect, it's a little streaky, but I actually kind of like that. It gives it sort of a vintage, worn feel, so I really like this page. Next is Kurt Cobain. So he is not one of my favorite characters. I did not like his band or their music at all. He was the lead singer and main songwriter for the band Nirvana, but you can't deny what they did. His band and a couple other bands, they came out of that heavy metal era and they wanted to do something fresh and new, and they really did. And they changed the landscape of music, and it's truly amazing what he did. He was born in 1967, died by his own hand in 1995. He is also a member of the 27 Club, and he had one wife, Courtney Love, who was also a musician, a model, actress, and he had one daughter, Frances Bean. I don't think his daughter ever knew him. She was just born, a very young baby when he passed away. So I was really toying with this on what to do. On one hand, I felt like dark colors would be good, but then on the other hand, I had this neat color palette with blue and green and pink and orange and yellow that I wanted to use. So I just used it on this one. And I think it came out really good. I like the colors together. And then again, I didn't know what to do for the background, so I just took some washi tape and put that around the edges. And I really like how it looks overall. I think it's cool. And then the last one is Mr. James Dean. So he was born in 1931 and passed away in 1955. He was only an actor for 5 years, but the impact he had on acting and movies is profound, and people still remember him today. He did die in a traffic accident. I believe he was on a motorcycle. He really liked motorcycles, and that was part of his persona. He was only in really 3 movies that were like big or you know, were watched by a lot of people. I'm not sure if that means he was only in 3 movies or if he was in other movies that were not as well known. I didn't look into that much more than that. One of his famous movies was Rebel Without a Cause. And he tended to play these rebellious, sort of moody teen roles. And I think that's how people thought he was in life. And I read somewhere that because people thought that of him, he just kind of embodied that persona, even though that wasn't how he really was. But he just started acting the way people expected him to based on his film roles. So I have never seen any of his movies, but I've heard that they're pretty good. So you might want to check them out if you haven't seen them. So I like this color palette. I did this with Crayola Super Tips. I'm not sure I like it in the markers. I think I could achieve different shades that would look better together with colored pencils. So I do like the palette, but if I use it again, I would definitely use pencil. I think I would tone down this pink and use a lighter gray possibly, and I might change the order. I think I would put the blue as a lighter color rather than a darker color, this turquoise here. But overall, I like it. And on this one, just knowing he liked to ride motorcycles, I kind of thought of chrome. So I used my silver gel crayon that I just bought. I did have to do a few coats to get it to look smooth and not be able to see the brush marks of my water pen. But I really like it. Came out really nice. I think it's a nice backdrop to the image. So that is the book, and just let me show you quickly. So here is all of the images in the book, and then here's Elizabeth Taylor that I'm missing, and Princess Diana that I am hoping to rehabilitate. So thank you so much for watching this video, for sticking with me to the end. If you're still here, I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out so much and will help me to continue to grow my channel. And I hope you have a fabulous, and of course, a very crafty day.